This is the opening for the Statistics Day 1 lesson. Our objective is that I can graph statistical data, but this opening is going to be to review over some of our probability problems in preparation for what we want to do later, and also just get you ready for next week's quiz. So let me read through the problems for you. You're going to, first of all, decide if there are two events in the problem, if they're independent or not. Problem 1, rolling a 5 and selecting a red queen. Then if you decided that they're independent, then you want to find the probability of them. Problem 2 is in a bag of 25 marbles. So the way it's phrased is that there's 10 green, 12 red, and 3 blue. That gives you 25 total marbles. What's the probability of pulling a green or a blue out when you reach in? Second one is select a red, replace it, and then select a green. What's the probability of that? Then lastly, if you look at your note sheet that you have, notice that down at the bottom there's a vocab area down at the bottom. If we were to take a pencil and just at random, like it would be like closing your eyes and putting the pencil on the paper, what would be the probability that the pencil point would land on the vocab area? So that's a geometric probability problem that I would like you to try. So I'd like you to take a moment, pause the video, talk to your group, work out these problems, and then come back and check your work to see how you did on these problems as practice. Now that you've tried them, let's go ahead and check out the answers. So let's work through these. So when we have these two problems, rolling a 5 on a dice and selecting a red queen, those are two completely separate events. So they're independent of each other. One doesn't influence or impact the probability of the other one. So rolling a 5, there's only one 5 on a dice out of 6. So the probability of getting a 5 would be 1 out of 6. Okay, now for selecting a red queen, so I'm going to put RQ for red queen. Now if you think of the deck of a cards, there's 52 in the deck. And in the deck, there's 4 queens. 2 of them are black and 2 of them are red. The hearts and the diamonds are red cards. So if you take out those 2, you get 2 out of 52, and reduce that gives you 1 out of 26. So those are the probabilities separate from each other. Now, when we have this, and they are independent events. So I'm going to put down the word independent here. When they're independent, what you do is to get this probability is you're going to multiply these two together. When you're saying you want this and this, then you're going to take the probability of a 5 and a red queen. That's going to equal the 1/6 times the 1 over 26 when they're independent. When we multiply those together, you get 1 over 156. And if we were to write that as a decimal, you could list it as a fraction like that when we're doing probability. The decimal is about 0.006 for our probability. Okay, that's problem 1. Problem 2 now is where we have this bag of 25 marbles with 10 green, 12 red, 3 blue. What's the probability of either getting out a green or a blue? Now, these two, there's no overlap between the two of them. So these two, since they're mutually exclusive results, what we can do when we have the word or, that's the critical word, is you can find the probability of a green and the probability of a blue and add them together, because it's like they're now one color. It's either one of those. So it's either one of these two together. So when we do probability of a green, that's going to be, notice it's going to be 10 out of the 25. And the probability of the blue is a 3 out of 25. So when we get the probability of, with this word or, so green or blue, that's going to equal, add these two together. So 10 plus 3, because they have the same denominator, over 25. It gives us 13 over 25 for our probability. as a fraction. Okay, now part B says, what is it if you select a red, replace it, and then select a green? Now those two are independent events, because if you select one out of the bag, look at it, then put it back, now that second selection doesn't depend on the first because you have all the choices back in there. So first of all, the probability of a red is 12 out of 25. And then the probability of a green on the second selection, that's going to be our 10 out of 25. When they're independent events, so when we're going to have this word, when we're going to have these two independent of each other, then we're going to multiply the two probabilities together. So what you're going to get is the probability is going to be 12 over 25 times 10 over 25. Okay, when we multiply that out, we're going to get 24 over 125 when we reduce it. Okay, so it's reducing out, actually I took a 5 out of both of these two. Okay, take out a 5, you have 2 over 5. So 12 times 2 gives you 24, 25 times 5 gives you 125. All right, so it would be 24 over 125 for that probability. All right, and you can give it as a decimal if you'd like. This last one's a geometric probability, and we want to know what the probability is of hitting that table at the bottom if you just randomly put the pencil down on the paper and you're going to hit the paper somewhere. Well, we need the total area, so the total, so area of the paper, which is the total, that's going to be 11 times 8.5. I don't know if you did some measurements on that, but I have it right here for you. So 11 times 8.5 is 93.5. And then the area of the table, so our little vocabulary table at the bottom, I measured it as 4 inches by 7 inches. You might have got something slightly different. But if you multiply those two, so 4 times 7 to get the area of it, you get 28. So the probability then of hitting the table, the vocabulary table, is going to be that 28 over 93.5. So to find that area, and so when I go ahead and do the decimal for that, that's 0.299 for the answer. So here's your opening problem review, the solutions to those. Use these to help you review to get you ready for next week's quiz.